Text 9 through 19. Okay, text 9. Yagyartha karmano nyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha tharartam karma kanteya mukta sangha samachara. Translation. Work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed. Otherwise, work binds one to this material world. Therefore, O son of Kunti, perform your prescribed duties for his satisfaction, and in that way you will always remain unattached and free from bondage. Text number 10. Sahayagya praja shishtva parovacha prajapati anena prasavishvadvam eshavo sishthakamadhu. Translation. In the beginning of creation, the Lord of all creatures sent forth generations of men and demigods, along with sacrifices for Vishnu, and blessed them by saying, "Be thou happy by this yajna," sacrifice, because its performance will bestow upon you all desirable things. Text 11. Devan bhavayitanena deva bhavayantu vaha parasparam bhavayanta shreya param avapsyata. Translation. The demigods, being pleased by sacrifices, will also please you, and thus nourishing one another, there will reign general prosperity for all. Text 12. Ishtan bogan hivo deva dasyante yagyabhavita terditana pradaya yo bhunkte stena evasaha. Translation. In charge of the various necessities of life, the demigods, being satisfied by the performance of yajna, sacrifice, supply all necessities to man. But he who enjoys these gifts without offering them to the demigods in return is certainly a thief. Text 13. Yaga shista shana santo muchante sarvakil vishai bhunjate te tuham papa ye pachatyatmakaranat. Translation. The devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sins because they eat food which is offered first for sacrifice. Others who prepare food for personal sense enjoyment verily eat only sin. Text 14. Anad bhavanti bhutani parjanyadana sambhavaha yagyad bhavati parjanyo yagya karma samudbhava. Translation. All living bodies subsist on food grains, which are produced from rains. Rains are produced by performance of yajna, sacrifice, and yajna is born of prescribed duties. Text number 15. Karma brahmad bhavam vidhi brahmakshara samudbhavam tasmat sarvagatam brahma nityam yagi pratishtitam. Translation. Regulated activities are prescribed in the Vedas, and the Vedas are directly manifested from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Consequently, the all-pervading transcendence is eternally situated in acts of sacrifice. Text 16. Evam pravartitam chakram nanuvartat yatihayah aghayor indriya ramo mogham partha sajivati. Translation. My dear Arjuna, a man who does not follow this prescribed Vedic system of sacrifice certainly leads a life of sin, for a person delighting only in the senses lives in vain. Text 17. Yastatma ratir eva syad atma triptascha manavaha atmanyeva cha santushtas tasya karyam navidyate. Translation. One who is, however, taking pleasure in the self, who is illumined in the self, who rejoices in and is satisfied with the self only, fully satiated, for him there is no duty. Text 18. Naiva tasya kriten arto na kritene hakaschana Na chasya sarvabhuteshu kaschirartha vipashya. Translation: a self-realized man has no purpose to fulfill in the discharge of his prescribed duties, nor has he any reason not to perform such work, nor has he any need to depend on any other living being. Text 19. Tasmara sakta satatam karyam karma samachara asakto yacharan karma paramapnoti purusha. Translation: therefore, without being attached to the fruits of activities, one should act as a matter of duty, for by working without attachment, one attains the supreme. So back to text number 9. Work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed. Otherwise, work binds one to this material world. Therefore, O son of Kunti, perform your prescribed duties for his satisfaction, and in that way you will always remain unattached and free from bondage. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Since one has to work even for the simple maintenance of the body, the prescribed duties for a particular social position and quality are so made that that purpose can be fulfilled. Yaga means Lord Vishnu or sacrificial performances. All sacrificial performances also are meant for the satisfaction of Lord Vishnu. The Vedas enjoin Yagyo Vai Vishnu. In other words, the same purpose is served whether one performs prescribed yagyas or directly serves Lord Vishnu. Krishna consciousness is therefore performance of yagya, as it is prescribed in this verse. The Varnashram institution also aims at this, for satisfying Lord Vishnu. Varnashramacharya vata purushena para puman Vishnur aradyate. Vishnu Purana 388. Therefore, one has to work for the satisfaction of Vishnu. Any other work done in this material world will be a cause of bondage. For both good and evil work have their reactions, and any reaction binds the performer. Therefore, one has to work in Krishna consciousness to satisfy Krishna or Vishnu, and while performing such activities, one is in a liberated stage. This is the great art of doing work. And in the beginning, this process requires very expert guidance. One should therefore act very diligently under the expert guidance of a devotee of Lord Krishna, or under the direct instruction of Lord Krishna himself, under whom Arjuna had the opportunity to work. Nothing should be performed for sense gratification, but everything should be done for the satisfaction of Krishna. This practice will not only save one from the reaction of work, but will also gradually elevate one to transcendental loving service of the Lord, which alone can raise one to the kingdom of God. So these last few points here are really nice. Nothing should be performed for sense gratification, but everything should be done for the satisfaction of Krishna. This practice will not only save one from the reaction of work, but will also gradually elevate one to the transcendental loving service of the Lord, which alone can raise one to the kingdom of God. So in the next verse, Vishnu explains it. Or Krishna explains it. If you just perform sacrifice to Vishnu or to Krishna, then you can be happy in this life, and then you can go back to Godhead in the next. And the purport is really nice to the next verse, but so that's very positive thinking. You know. Oh, this is the next verse actually. Anyway, so if we just serve Krishna, perform our duties to serve in service to Krishna, then we can free ourselves from having to reap reactions of this world. And so anything outside of service to Krishna gives us bondage, as Prabhupada mentions here, that any activities that are devoid of Krishna consciousness, that are outside of devotional service, they're in the realm of karma. So then you get a good there's either a good reaction or bad reaction, depending on what you do. So it's so you can be sure that when you do any activities in this world that is, without Krishna, then you'll feel some anxiety, or you'll feel some distress after whatever happiness you gain from that material activity. And that's the material world, it's a place of anxiety. So as soon as you start to do material activities, then so much anxiety comes from it. But if you just serve the Lord, then you can be free from anxiety. You can be liberated from that. So it's important to focus on learning the art of how to serve Krishna 24/7, and that's the reason why Prabhupada gives us this point about we have to be diligent, we have to act diligently in this world under the guidance of a devotee of Krishna, or of Krishna himself, but that's a very high platform. Like Arjuna had Krishna himself there. Krishna himself was there instructing Arjuna to fight. But that's very fortunate. He also still had doubts, as we were hearing, even though Krishna was there. Of course, this is the Leela, but it's an example. Even if Krishna is present, still one doesn't necessarily mean one is fully safe, because even in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, there were so many people that saw Lord Chaitanya, and so many devotees, but there were still some cases of devotees falling down, even in the direct association with Lord, like Krishna Das, I believe it was Krishna Das, who got allured by those lustful people. So we have to be careful at every point. But for us particularly, we have to follow the guidance of the spiritual master. And for neophytes, we're not on that platform where we can hear Krishna directly, or we could hear the super soul perfectly. So that's why we have Guru Sadhu Shastra to check in, and the gurus and the sadhus can give the Shastra, can give us the application of a Shastra according to time, place, and circumstance. That is the symptom of an Acharya. So we have to perform sacrifice to the Lord, and particularly for this age, sacrifice is chanting of the holy names of the Lord, as Lord Chaitanya gave us is Sankirtan Yajna. So if we just perform Sankirtan, or we support Sankirtan activities, then we can be happy and peaceful, and we can go back to God in the next life. Okay, are there any comments or questions on this verse or purport? Yes, Gary? Yeah, we'll get a mic for you.
Thank you. As you were reading this verse, I was thinking about my career as a public school teacher, and how that's one of my ways of service for Krishna is being there every day teaching my students. But then the thought came to me as I was thinking that, and that every interaction I have with everybody in my life is actually a chance of service to Krishna. The way I respond to them, if they're asking for help, helping them, showing them love, showing them compassion, being there if I need them. So it goes much beyond just my daily profession. It's basically every interaction. And that really kind of brought me into some kind of awareness of where I need to be in my life.
Nice. Yeah, if you watch Following Srila Prabhupada, the series on YouTube, then you'll see just how Prabhupada interacts with so many various people, devotees, just the common people that are around. And then you can hear Prabhupada's, some of the stories that are told by his disciples of how Prabhupada reacted to people at different times. And yeah, we can get a lot of inspiration from how a pure devotee interacts with so many different various people in this world, and how that's all because his whole life is service to Krishna, so he's always engaged in devotional service. Gornitai ki jai. So yeah, it can be a little tricky how to live in this world and really make sure that we're serving Krishna in our activities, especially like working and etc. So that has to be one has to inquire from the spiritual master on how to do it, and then how to and confirm that we're on the right track, we're on the right path, and in serving the Lord. Any other? Yes, Magadari? So this, you have to be careful, so therefore you're following under instructions. So sometimes when services, and then there seems to be so many details, it's kind of overwhelming. Like, I didn't have that this person master expresses at least some things to me. It just feels completely. So, what is the solution? What was the last part you said? Sometimes I'm feeling overwhelmed with instructions, or like there's so many of them, or the instruction, you're looking into the detail of an instruction. Well, there seems to be a lot of like subtle points which we're trying to navigate in addition to the basics. And so struggling with just the basics. So I'm just wondering, where does the strength come from to actually execute all those things? Should you have a comment?
Comes from Krishna. All the strength comes from Krishna. Everything comes from Krishna. So it's no surprise. And the devotees he gives. Tesham satatayuktanam vajatam pritipurvakam dami buddhi yogam tam yena mamupyante. Those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. But he's there to exactly to do that. He's in the heart. He's traveling with us, two souls in every body. One is the individual soul, that's us, and the other is super soul, that's Krishna. Krishna says he is the super soul in everyone's heart. So whether we antaryami, we take the Lord in the heart, he's giving instructions, or we take Bhagavad Gita, it's the same person, and the spiritual master is also the external manifestation of super soul. So he confirms what we're hearing from inside, or what we're hearing from inside confirms what he's saying, what the scriptures say. Sadhu, Shastra, and Guru are all three in sync. And we have to pray, Krishna, please, I'm trying to serve you. I'm incapable. I have no abilities whatsoever, no bhakti naya, veda naya, I have no bhakti, no knowledge. I've got no good qualities, and still I'm trying to do something for you. So please kindly help me. Help us. One should, not only are we something we feel helpless, we should realize we actually are helpless. People who say they're not sure they need God's help, they can do it alone. They're falsely proud because without Krishna's strength, even the non-devotees couldn't say anything. He was giving them the ability to voice their grievances with God, and he's also giving that. So he's giving to everyone. What to speak of a devotee who's trying to serve him, trying to assist him. He'll certainly give everything that's necessary. For that verse, Tesham, in the heart, again, Dipena Basa, was that verse?
Tesham evanukam
Kampartam. Again, Jam Damaha Tasi Nasyam Yami. Baba so Gyanadi Pena Basata. I dwelling in their hearts, destroy with shining lamp of knowledge the ignorance of the 20 torch of transcendental knowledge. I have compassion for them. I dwelling in them. So he will remove the darkness of ignorance from their heart because they're trying to serve me. And that Krishna appreciates very much. Krishna is so grateful to anyone who serves him. Even if someone just makes a little attempt at service, Krishna doesn't forget that. And he's always trying his best to help that person, to see what he needs and encourage him. So we find that in devotional service. We wonder sometimes how, as you say, how can we take on these responsibilities when we don't have any qualification? Well, the qualification is we're trying to assist Srila Prabhupada. And that's a very good qualification. Because who can be dearer to Krishna than Prabhupada? And if we're trying to help Prabhupada in any way, helping this movement, spread this movement, then that's sufficient to warrant Krishna's taking compassion on us and giving us knowledge, taking us out of darkness of ignorance.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I was just thinking it is it's unrealistic or it's unrealistic to expect that the spiritual master should give you every instructor on every single detail of something. Like, let's say, for example, the spiritual master says, okay, you should wash the dishes. So it seems like a pretty straightforward instruction, but then if you go into it a little bit, okay, well, so we wash the dishes, and then now there's a question of where, should I use hot water? Should I use cold water? What kind of soap should I use? Should I use a sponge? Should I use the steel wool? Yes, steel wool. So there's all those details, and it's not such a good use of time to ask a spiritual master all those tens and 20s of questions on how to do that particular service. Of course, you can ask some questions of clarification and things like that, but to go into every single detail about it, it's not very realistic. So So we have to use our intelligence. So we think, okay, well, what kind of soap should I use? And then we have Shastra that says, and Guru Sara Shastra that says that we should practice ahimsa, nonviolence. So then we try to find a soap which doesn't have animal products in it, or is more eco-friendly, etc., like that. So then we use our intelligence, and then, yeah, we're checking in, trying to see if we're praying to Krishna help us make these decisions, and then, so we have to use our intelligence, and we have to rely on Krishna and the spiritual master's mercy to make proper decisions like that. What kind of soap to use? What kind of, should I use hot water, cold water? And then Krishna may give us intelligence. Okay, this cold water is not washing off the grease or the oils on these pots and pans and bowls. So maybe I should use hot water and a soap and a sponge, etc., like that. So now I was just thinking how that sort of intelligent application, it allows the devotee to express themselves in a unique way, which if you gave, every single instruction how to do something, then it's almost like a robotic thing. Versus, like, let's say, for example, in book distribution, there's, say, you get an instruction to distribute books. Okay, there's so many ways to distribute books. There's so many ways to speak to people how to get them to take a book. And there's so many devotees that have a certain different moods with their book distribution, which are all pleasing to Krishna and the devotees. And so that sort of, you could say that's sort of like freedom of expression to perform their service and to use their intelligence and rely on Krishna's mercy allows for so many different flavors of the service. So, of course, you could say, like, sometimes we in the beginning, it's best to be sort of like a robot and just follow the recipe of book distribution, or the recipe of making a laddu or a simply wonderful or a paneer sabji. But then at some point, one becomes a little skilled, and then they can sort of, put in their own intelligence and expression into making a laddu or a burfi or distributing a book to somebody speaking. So any other comments or questions? Yes, Arya, Prabhu?
Hare Krishna. Sometimes when we're beginning to go down that path of praying to Krishna for assistance, it can be a good starting point to remember that Krishna does not give us a test that we cannot pass. And if we have faith in that, then surely Krishna is going to provide us with some solutions to our problems.
All right, thank you. Okay, we can go on to the next verse. Text 10. In the beginning of creation, the Lord of all creatures sent forth generations of men and demigods, along with sacrifice for Vishnu, and blessed them by saying, "Be thou happy by this yajna, because its performance will bestow upon you all desirable things." For the next verse, the demigods being pleased by sacrifices will also please you. Thus nourishing one another, there will reign general prosperity for all. Thanks. In charge of the various necessities of life, the demigods, being satisfied by the performance of yajna, supply all necessities to man, but he who enjoys these gifts without offering them to the demigods in return is certainly a thief. So, what's the next verse? The devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sins because they eat food which is first offered first for sacrifice. Others who prepare food for personal sense enjoyment verily eat only sin. So this is one of the most important principles in Krishna consciousness, is to offer one's food to Krishna. Because if one doesn't, then it's just a material activity, and one has to have some reaction for that. Because the nature of the world is jiva sajivanam. So one living entity is food for another living entity. That's the nature of the material world, which in itself is a symptom of the suffering of the material world. Because in order to live, one has to live off of the lives of others. It's kind of scary. So I won't get nutrition by eating this, this dull matter, but we get nutrition by eating vegetables and, etc. like that. So, one has to offer their food to the Lord back, because one point of it is that it's not for us, because it's something which is given by the Lord to exist. We can't actually manufacture our own things. It's all done by nature, which also is done by Krishna. So for those that are not offering food to Krishna, then in the previous verse says that the demigods, they supply all necessities to man, but those who enjoy those gifts without offering them to the demigods in return are just like thieves. So it also goes for Krishna too. One is like a thief if they're just taking things, because it's not ours. It's not ours. And Krishna is the supplier of everything. So one has to offer that gratitude back to him. But for devotees of the Lord, if we offer food to Krishna, then that also pleases the demigods, because by pleasing Krishna, we also please the demigods. So by serving Krishna, there's no obligation to please the demigods. But if you don't, then you're gonna reap those results of not of enjoying those things without offering some sort of, having some sort of offering, some reciprocation with the demigods. So simply by taking prasadam, then so many problems are solved.
And Krishna kindly tells us what type of food he'll eat, what kind of food he likes to eat. And therefore, the devotee doesn't offer anything that Krishna doesn't like. Krishna won't accept. Patram pushpam palam toyam yome bhaktya prayachati taraham bhakti paritam ashnami prayatamana. So he says, leaf, flower, fruit, or water, I'll accept it if it's offered love and devotion. Simple, no, he doesn't ask for any flesh, no animal flesh, no. Prabhupada always made this point when speaking to Christians or about Christians. Why this idea that there's no consideration of eating these animals and big slaughterhouses and so many arrangements? This is not pleasing to God. And so they made up a philosophy, some philosophers made it up, that animals have no souls. It's completely concocted. What is the reason why an animal doesn't have a soul and therefore it's okay to eat it? What is the difference between human and animal? They'll say that the human is rational. He has the ability to ration. But animal also has a rational sense. If you put your finger in front of an ant, a little ant, although he doesn't have a huge brain, little brain, you think, oh, I have something in the way here, I'll go around. And also, if you keep your finger there long enough, then the ant will tell the other ants, watch out, there's somebody making some mysterious thing going on there. Don't go there. They turn around, they go back the other way. That's rational. That's completely rational. And if you put him in water, he swims. So they also know how to eat, sleep, mate, and defend, as well as the humans. Better in one sense, they can live outside, they live out in nature. So what is it that lacks a soul? And then you can say, well, humans can understand spiritual things, but there are many humans that don't understand spiritual things. Does that mean they don't have a soul? So there's no reason for this. It's just a speculation by someone of the philosophers who contributed to the Christian dogmas and things that philosophy there supposed to understand. So they're fortunate now that Sri Krishna's book is being made available all over the world. And God is personally speaking, saying what he'll eat. And so they can be spared that, they can be free from that misunderstanding. And it's explained that there's souls in every creature. And that every creature has a soul and a super soul. So many things that were not known are now being given. And it's a privilege to be able to dispense this transcendental knowledge that we have.
All right, thank you very much. Any other comments or questions? Yes, Materna?
But I can try to get in. So sometimes there's a misconception of what this offering food to the Lord is. You know, maybe some people think they can go get Thai food with their friend and say a couple of prayers in front of it. Could you maybe talk about that?
Yeah, well, there's various levels of, of an offering. Of course, the best is to the highest standard you would say is like offering to the deity of the Lord, because and having even that is like having a very high standard of deity worship, and then offering to make sure everything's clean, all the pots are are clean. So it's dependent on the capacity of the individual, what kind of offering is appropriate for them. But there is definitely like a base level, offering. So, but for most of us, we have that opportunity, we have that time to, to cook something for Krishna and to cook something ourselves for Krishna, and to not taste it, not to think about it as if I'm going to enjoy it, but actually cook it in such a mood, which is you're actually offering it, like it's actually an offering to Krishna. And there's things like details like using only clean pots that are only Krishna's pots, and offering Krishna a plate which is only on Krishna's plate, and offering it to a picture of Krishna. And so for each, one has to see where one is at. We'll have to take guidance and see where one is at for that kind of offering, or for what kind of offering is appropriate for them in their circumstances. Like when we were on traveling Sankirtan, we were living in a van, so it's hard to make an offering because we're just always on the move, and it's hard to have we don't have deities, so we have pictures on the walls and things like that. So it was hard to have a really nice, like, at least in our van, to have a really nice pucka offering. Of course, like over time, we gradually improved it. So that's the thing, is like, you start somewhere and then you try to gradually improve your offering to the Lord, gradually improve your situation. But if somebody's at a place where they're like, I'm so attracted to Thai food, I just have to go and eat this Thai food at the restaurant. I mean, it's better to offer that, try to offer that before you eat it than not. So, it's just like that concept of drinking wine. We give that example. And of course, drinking wine is a sin, so it's intoxication. But if one thinks of water when they drink it, then they make some Krishna conscious benefit. Some benefit is there. Of course, it's not the best thing to do. It's not a good thing to do. But if that's where one is at, and their capacity that they have to drink this wine, or they want to, it's a strong desire, then at least think of Krishna. At least Rasaham up to Konte. At least think of the Krishna, this Krishna's energy, and he's a taste of water, like that.
Krishna Bhagavan was very, very liberal. Into the winos.
Yeah. So gradual progress, gradual progress. But yeah, best thing is to cook yourself and offer it to the Lord. And there's resources how to do that in a nice way. Have a little altar and Krishna's own plate and certain mantras you say, like that. Okay, any other comments or questions? Yes, Magadari? Take our last comment and question.
This was actually in regard to so devoid of devotional service, there's some reaction. So we feel some anxiety. And I'm wondering if it's selfish motivation to want to be free from anxiety.
I mean, it's not a pure motivation for serving Krishna, but it can be a motivating factor for you, and if it helps you serve the Lord, then that's good. We have these motivations, and it's not like we can be on the pure platform now and to artificially renounce that motivation, which actually can help you advance in devotional service. Then you might have a tendency to become a little slack or lazy. It's like Navina Neri gave this good example about using things for fuel for your fire in devotional service. And I think he was speaking about somebody who wanted to have big book scores and book distribution. And yeah, it's not like it may not have been such a pure motivation for the person, like they want big book scores, because there's some sort of element of selfish motivation, of wanting recognition, or having some achievement versus just wanting it just to purely please Krishna. But through that motivation, one's consciousness becomes purified by performing that activity, until one has a lot of realizations about themselves and their desires, and then ultimately they become pure, where they're just thinking, okay, well, I just want to do this to please Krishna. So yeah, we're in anxiety in the material world, and Krishna says that those are the people that approach him, right? The people in distress, they approach God because they're in distress. which means they're in anxiety, they're depressed, they are going through so much suffering. Of course, it's not a pure platform, but one can be purified to where gradually is where one actually comes to a pure platform of serving and approaching the Lord. Okay, thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.